Hello, yeah, welcome to today's webinar. I'm just going to give it a minute to allow for some of more attendees to filter through. So yeah, hello, and yeah, welcome to today's webinar. Just before we get started, I just wanted to run through a couple of housekeeping points. So yeah, we have Q&A function enabled today. You should be able to see at the bottom of your screen an option to pose any questions to Daniel. Please feel free to use that, and we'll come to those at the end of the session. Also, just to let you know, we're recording the session as well, so you don't need to be frantically scribbling notes. We'll provide you the recording after the event. So yeah, please do pay attention to the discussion. But yeah, let me move on to introducing today's session. So today we have a fireside chat, looking at some cybersecurity trends seen by Westcon Comstore, which is one of the biggest distributors of business-to-biz technologies. So I'm Chris Sedgwick, the Deputy Head of AR at CC Group, and today I'll be chatting with Daniel Harrell, who's VP EMEA and Cybersecurity Lead at Westcon Comstore. Daniel works with some of the biggest security vendors in the world at Westcon, including the likes of Palo Alto, Checkpoint, Cisco, CrowdStrike, and Zscaler. He also provides a quite unique view of security trends because as a distributor, Westcon works across the supply chain, including with vendors, MSSPs, VARs, and system integrators. And we hope you find the session insightful. So Daniel, there's a lot of talk within the cybersecurity world at the minute about securing supply chains. How is Westcon Comstore addressing supply chain security issues in the context of increasing cloud adoption?
So thank you, Chris, for the opportunity to have this conversation. My name is, as you said, Daniel Harrell. I'm responsible for the go-to-market and the strategy for Westcon cybersecurity for EMEA, being a company for a couple of decades, and in security for a couple of decades also. I started my career with firewall and antivirus. Everybody know about Norton antivirus. This is where I started to be interested by the security, IT security, and becomes cybersecurity after that. So thank you for the opportunity, Chris. Appreciate that. The supply chain, I think that supply chain and security, I think that we need to define supply chain before going into the details. As you know, today, all businesses use third-party or subcontractors to help them to in their mission, in their business. And all of those third party needs to have access to different resources. So either they are bringing their device and their application to make sure that they could accomplish their mission. And so because they're doing that, they are becoming a part of the business, but with different devices and different policies and different applications. So that is, as a result of that, it will increase the surface of the attack, and the businesses needs to have some specific policies to make sure that when the third party will connect their devices, the devices will not be in breach with the business security policy. The devices would be, as the devices of the businesses will be as protected, as safe as the internal devices that they are using, the internal equipment. And therefore, and the same applies with the application. And when it comes to the collaboration between the third parties into the supply chain, and the businesses, I think that there is enough policy to secure the environment using by the third party. However, when it comes to the end of the contract, there is, and I heard that there are some businesses which don't have any exit policy. So if you said a third party will have some data or will access some applications with some devices, what's about the data? The data today is the most important asset of a company. And so the third party needs to also stick with an exit policy. But the businesses, they don't have a lot of exit policies. So they need to destroy or to give back the data or the devices, because some of the third party use some business devices, and therefore they need to return the devices or destroy the data. So the security on this point of view could be, and you all heard about the ZTA, the Zero Trust Access. So we need to use in this supply chain, using the third party, we need to use the ZTA policy, the Zero Trust Access policy, which in a very simple term is you don't trust anyone, you don't trust any device, okay, and you control the behaviors of the third party. That could be the credential, could be the identity, it could be the fact that the devices that they are using are, as I said, as well protected than their own devices. So there is a way to contain the risks if there is any vulnerabilities by using these very strict policies into the supply chain. And the supply chain also the supply chain has an impact also on the security by the fact that they could add some vulnerabilities to the existing infrastructure. But I think that we will go later on this topic during this interview.
And then you kind of talked about the shift to cloud-based security and how do you think that's only going to accelerate. So being able to utilize relationships with strategic vendors to offer the best solutions for partners is increasingly important. What role do vendor solutions play in addressing the unique security challenges posed by cloud environments from your perspective?
The cloud, this is a very large topic. As you know, many of the businesses now are using applications which are in the cloud. But still, 85% of the company has not moved all the data in the cloud. They could have their on-prem infrastructure. They could use one cloud or a multi-cloud environment, and we call that hybrid. But going back to my first statement, 85% of the data are still on-prem, not in the cloud. Even if you're using some very known application like Salesforce or Microsoft Office 365, the data, 85% of the businesses, data of 85% of the businesses are still in infrastructure. So the resellers, as the vendor, they need to address both. They need to address the on-prem infrastructure, but they need also to have some solution to protect everything it's in the cloud. So more and more vendors, they have both solutions. They have solutions for the on-prem, which mainly the Palo Alto of this world or the Checkpoint of this world, which are not born in the cloud. And you have some new vendors, new between quotes, vendors, which are more, as we call them, big, born in the cloud vendors, which are more services-based, software-based, subscription-based, and their technology are based in the cloud and could protect also the data in the cloud. There is, however, some question marks around the responsibility. Who is responsible for the security until which point? And that would be the vendor which is based in the cloud, on the flow of the information, where the cybersecurity from the vendor will start and will end, and where the cybersecurity vendor from the infrastructure will start and will end. And this is something that it's not really defined today. So coming back to your question, Chris, the challenges is to have a solution that could embrace both environment, that will be the on-prem and that will be the cloud, or with hybrid solutions. In terms of technologies, everybody is talking about cloud security. Everybody is talking about the XDR, so everything around detection and response on the different environment. So it's but all the solution does exist, and you could be protected if you have your asset in the cloud, on-prem, or both.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And maybe another technology that I think we really want to cover today is artificial intelligence and how that is creating new opportunities and threats within the cybersecurity space. And obviously, AI, it's nothing new to the security industry, and I think AI has been being used for a number of years, but I think it's only really now there is a kind of acceleration recently, and but I'd love to kind of get a feeling from you what you see are the threats and opportunities associated with that advancement of AI, and also maybe with quantum computing as well.
This is a very hot topic, Chris, about AI, artificial intelligence. As you said, artificial intelligence was not born 2 years ago with ChatGPT. It was born in the late 50s, last century, between two, let's say, industrial revolution, the second and the third. And then we are in the, just before the fifth revolution, which will combine AI and the connected devices and the automation and and communication and collaboration. There is a huge impact into the cybersecurity solution, and unfortunately also the breaches and the vulnerabilities brought by AI. So as you all know, AI was made to make sure that the tasks could be done, realized by machines all day long, 7 days a week. The same task that human could do, okay, but quicker, right? This is AI. When we talk about AI into the cybersecurity, we're more talking about generative AI, or so-called Gen AI, which is a subset of the machine learning, which is a group of the artificial intelligence. So talking about Gen AI, it's the beauty of Gen AI is the capacity of the artificial intelligence to retrieve data, to analyze data, to some extent take some decisions, okay, and could help really the threat hunters to focus on the right aspect of the cybersecurity. So if you take a SOC, for example, a security operating center, where you have a lot of resources, before AI, there was some rules, and they need to set up priorities on the different alerts or alarms, okay, that came to them through different sensors, okay? Could be the firewall, could be the devices, could be the antivirus, next-gen antivirus, could be the web, and so on and so on. So they needed to set up priorities to make sure that they focus on the right element. It was not possible because they had too many alerts, too many alarms, okay? And most of the time, even if they were very good, it was time consuming. As you know, the resources on cybersecurity, there is a gap. The last time I checked, it was 4 million of people that we need on the cybersecurity expert side. So AI could help, and Gen AI could help, thanks to the capabilities, as I said, to analyze, to retrieve data, to take decision, to transform one alert into one event, which is very important. So they could, thanks to their capacity of learning, they could take decisions without any human intervention, okay? And then select the one that will need a human intervention. So out of 10,000 of alerts, they could choose which one needs to have the attention of the cybersecurity experts. And so from the 10,000 different alerts that they have, they will take the decision if there is a minor alert of security. I will take an example. If this afternoon at 4 o'clock, I will connect from home, which is close to Paris, and access to one application. And if 30 minutes after, somebody with my credential, but based in New York, okay, will try to access the same application, then the artificial intelligence and the Gen AI will take the decision to put this access on hold, okay? Because it's not impossible for me to be in Paris at 4 and 4:30, I will be in New York, okay? So this is something that Gen AI will help the threat hunters, okay, in their mission. However, the most important one, the access, again, I will take another example. If I want to access from home, Paris, to a certain application, but I don't have access to this application, okay? I don't have the right to access this application. Let's say that, I don't know, confidential information from the company or extract data from a server, then this will be transformed from one alert to one event, and then the cybersecurity expert will focus on this event. This is where generative AI could help the threat hunters. Your question was also about AI and quantum computing. Sorry. Maybe first we need to make the difference between the existing computing and the quantum computing, what we call the classic computing and the quantum computing. So classic computing is made out of electricity and algorithm, and with Boole algebra, which is sequential, and will go through different options, okay, to solve an issue. Quantum is completely different. Quantum could go into several directions, okay, to make sure that they will, in parallel, okay, work on a spatial solution to make sure that the problem could be solved, or the problem could be solved quicker. So, unfortunately, with the AI today, let's say the hackers, as they have access to the artificial intelligence and to the Gen AI, okay? Because they are popular and it's open source based, it's in the cloud, so they could have access to that. The good thing is that the threat hunters, they have also access to this. And it will be a fight between the hunters and hackers, and who will be able to act quicker. And the quantum computing today it's very expensive. AI, it's a technology, and Gen AI, it's a technology which is consume a lot of computing. So not everybody has the capabilities to have quantum computing because it's very expensive, very expensive. Some of the different analysts said that it will be, let's say, affordable about 2030. Okay, so it's about 6 years ago, 6 years in 6 years. So AI and quantum are linked because quantum computing will give more resources, more speed, okay, to AI to make sure that the different missions that we will give to AI will be executed quicker. That answer your question, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting. And I think you've really highlighted some of the opportunities that these technologies bring for, security teams to just, be more productive, be more efficient. But I also think, the threat landscape is also really evolving, particularly with Gen AI and other emerging AI tools. I wondered if Westcon Comstor has identified any new AI threats in the work you've been doing with vendors or partners, and what solutions you think might address them.
Of course, as I mentioned, there is new threats, new vulnerabilities, because Gen AI could learn from patterns, from text, from data outside, okay? And then the hackers could use that to breach and to penetrate the different business infrastructure. However, if you have a native Gen AI or AI cybersecurity technology, that could help the businesses to be protected against this, okay? But it needs to be an AI native, right? Of course, the power of computing, as mentioned already, quantum could not be, let's say, available for everyone. But again, if we talk about protection in the SMB and the enterprise, the SMB, as already mentioned a couple of times, they need to use the MSP, and the MSP will have the resources to protect the SMBs because they could mutualize their infrastructure. Now, my take on this would be to use native AI technology to make sure that we could optimize the protection and the security. And have we identified solutions? Yes, of course. Cloud security, AI-based, okay. XDR, AI-based also. NDR, AI-based. So there is a lot of vendors, cybersecurity vendors now, which will offer a native AI-based cybersecurity solutions, okay? So if a business, of course, they are all protected, but if they want to be ready to, let's say, if they want to be ready to face the new threat, they need to have the infrastructure, But not only the infrastructure, they need also to have internal policies to use AI tools. Today, if I want to do a PowerPoint presentation, okay, I could do that. I could take PowerPoint from Microsoft and do my own deck. But what I could do also is to take one application, AI native, okay, and say, okay, Mr. whatever application, this is my data, okay, and I would like you to build the deck for me. And you know what? It does. However, all the data that you put into the web for this application to do your deck, that will be in the public domain. So if this intellectual property will be accessible by everyone. So the businesses needs to have some internal policies to make sure that the employees are using the AI tool that the business will give them, and that's something different, something public. So there is, for me, a couple of solutions. First of all, for the infrastructure, it needs to be AI native, okay? Making sure that we are protected. Second, as you know, most of the breaches are coming from, unfortunately, coming from the people. So people need to be trained. People need to be educated on a regular basis. And we need to give the right tool to the people and also the right policy, okay, for them to keep the most important asset within the businesses and not put that outside of the in the public domain. Okay, exactly the example that I just given you.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely really important to sort of upskill, as you say, and develop those kind of computing expertise in workforces to combat these AI threats and have secure coding practices. But what would you say the potential risks posed by AI in the context of business operations?
Potential risk, you know, there is, as I said, the use of the public between quotes AI tools, it's a risk. I think that, as already mentioned, I think that the businesses need to have their internal policies to force the employee to use the compliant tool, okay, even if it's an AI tool, because I can understand that the AI tool will make their life easier or more efficient, or will simplify also, because they could retrieve the data, they could create text, they could create content, they could even create pictures, okay, but it needs to be contained into a safe environment, okay, and the tools that will be given by the businesses to the employees needs to be used, and only this. And coming back to the policy, each businesses need to have a strict policy of using the AI tools.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think at the moment technology is really outpacing the regulations and ensuring that people are using it sort of safely, as you say. And this is often the case.
Very good point, Chris. I think regulation is key, and as you know, European Union are working on a European regulation using AI tool, okay, just to make sure that there is a kind of sovereignty, do you call that this? Okay, so making sure that the data will remain into the country or into EU, not using AI tool coming from somewhere else. Okay. There are already some governments with some regulation of some national body, okay, into the country that gives some directive on the use of AI, the use of the different tools using AI. Okay, so it's very important that very quick we come to some regulation. NIS2 is, as you know, will come in October 24. Okay, and the different businesses need to be compliant with NIS2, which is, you know, a good start. But we need to be very detailed on the AI tool use to make sure that the IP of the businesses will stay within the businesses or within the country.
Yeah, and it's so important that those regulations come, because and I think once that regulation has been strengthened, you know, it will help AI security solutions to become more important at the end of the day. I'd be really interested if you could elaborate on the intersection of cybersecurity and AI, and how you think it can be used to improve automation and threat detection in particular.
You know, as I said, Gen AI could create context, and thanks to the machine learning and so on, could learn from patterns of vulnerabilities, code from threats, but also could learn from all the cybersecurity vendor documentation, okay, to counter attack or have a better protection when it comes to the cybersecurity threats and hackers. So it works both ways. They could learn from the vulnerabilities and the breaches, okay, but they could also learn, okay, from the good guy, okay, from the cybersecurity vendor. So putting everything together, the artificial intelligence could, of course, maximize the time of the cybersecurity expert on the most important threat. Okay, could also redirect the threat to be blocked. But also, for me, the most important is to be predictive. So as they could learn from patterns, they could easily, I don't think it's easy, but they could predict what could happen, okay? Because they know the different patterns. So they could alert the cybersecurity expert that there is a potential risk over here, okay? And the solution could be this one. So you understand that the fact that AI works for us and could potentially guide us into different options, it's a time saving. And as you know, we talked about the gap of the cybersecurity resources on the market. That will help the resources, okay, to make sure that they focus on the right thing. As you know, there is the cybersecurity expert into a SOC, the lifetime in the company, okay, it's 2 years. After that, it's a burnout because they have been under a huge pressure, a lot of work, okay, and they were not able to be helped, okay, prior to the rise of the artificial intelligence and the Gen AI, okay, to be helped by automation and efficient patterns and solutions. So that would be a good help for the cybersecurity experts in the SOC.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that it's not all just threats with AI. You know, there is huge opportunities as well if it's the technology is deployed like effectively by cybersecurity vendors. And yeah, we should not always just focus on the evolving threat landscape. But it's been really interesting hearing, yeah, more about how you kind of see the new challenges and opportunities that are emerging as AI evolves, and I doubt that's going to continue to. There's going to be new threats and new opportunities emerging all the time as the technology is accelerating so quickly at the moment. But I also wondered if you had any thoughts on maybe other emerging threats that security teams should be thinking about beyond sort of AI that we've been discussing, and how that should change their approaches to cybersecurity.
Yeah, I think there is a very interesting one, and that was called out during the RSA conference at the beginning of the year. It is about the protection of the API and the application. What Gartner mentioned as the CNAPP, Cloud Native Application Protection Platform, which in a very nutshell, short summary, when the business asks for a new application or new features, as you know, there is a journey. Okay, so at the right-hand side, you have the request from the businesses and the use of the application and so on. And the more you go left, okay, you will have the DevOps people that will create the application and will test the application and will deploy the application after that. In this application world or the application journey, it starts with the code. It starts with the DevOps, the guy who is in charge of developing and creating the different application, making sure that when somebody clicks there, there is the right sequence. Today, they are using open source code. Okay, they are using some of them are developing codes, but they are less and less development of codes than the use and the combination of the different codes, and the intelligence of the DevOps is to combine the different codes and make their own, okay, to make sure that the application will meet the expectations of the business, okay? In this first phase, when the code or the combine different codes, when the application works, when it comes to the deployment and the usage, you have one guy called the SecOps, okay, that will ask the question to the DevOps: have you tested the code, or do you know if the code is safe or the application secure? And today, most of the time, okay, the DevOps, which is not the core, the security is not their core expertise, they have not tested that the application is secure. So they need to go back to maybe square one, okay, and to include into their code the security feature, and then test it, and then deploy it. So there is a waste of time. The business doesn't have the application that they need to be more competitive, to have a different solution to offer to the customers and so on. And so there is a time to market, which is a little bit longer than expected, and could impact the market share, could impact the revenue, could impact a lot of things. So today, at the RSA conference, they said, we need to secure the code. And they called that the shift left. Okay. So it's the security need to shift left. So the security needs to be in the code. Okay. Need to be in the code, need to be the application. We need to test. We need to secure to test the code secured on the security side. We need to make sure that the deployment is done, the behavior of the application also is a safe behavior. And we need to make sure that the code that they are using, it's not just about the code that the DevOps are creating, okay, because they could create, of course, secure code, but the code that they are using, okay, are secured code, okay. So there is a lot of attention on this shift left with different vendors, cybersecurity vendors, that could guarantee the security of the code, could guarantee the security of the containers, could guarantee the security of the combination of different codes. There is even one vendor which have developed a firewall for the code, okay? So, because, you know, if you use an existing code, if a DevOps use an existing code which has not been tested on a security point of view, it could create that the application will be safe at 99% or secured at 99%. Is 99% enough? I want to drive a car, you know, with 99% security on my brake.
Absolutely not.
Okay, I want. So I need to make, because the car manufacturer, okay, they are coming back to your point about supply chain, third party, and so on. They use a lot of third parties. Okay, and for their brake, they use X. But they need to make sure that the X is 100% secure and working, right? Not 99%. 99% is not enough. Okay, so it's exactly the same for the IT. When you go to an application, it would be the car, right? Okay, you need to make sure that 100% this application is 100% secure, and therefore the code that they are using or the code that they are creating and everything around the application, okay, will be 100% secure. And this is the huge, very high focus, okay, of the IT industry today. The shift left.
It sounds like a really
and the CNAPP, okay,
yeah.
the Cloud Native Application Protection Platform.
Sounds like a really fundamental shift in mindset for the cybersecurity industry, even though it makes a lot of sense. And I guess from Westcon's perspective, like, how would you see that influencing, you know, security supply chains as more and more organizations sort of adopt this kind of shift left principle? How would you think that will influence supply chains, particularly in the context of increased cloud adoption?
You know, you have the influence and the push from the cloud service providers to use the cloud-based services, and it touches a lot of aspects of the business. And we were talking about the application, but everything will be around an application. So the security is already on top of mind of a lot of businesses, and some in let's say in a lot, but not all of them, and especially the SMBs. For me, the SMBs are the most critical to secure today. Not that, you know, it's not as important as the large businesses. Of course, the large business is critical, but the SMBs, if you go back 2 years ago at the same RSA conference, they mentioned that more than 60%, it was close to the 70% of the of the small and medium businesses hacked were off business 2 years after, because they don't have the resources. Okay, they don't have the capabilities to either pay because they have been breached by ransomware, or the resources to find the right solution after an attack. Okay, so I think that if the SMB, my suggestion would be the SMB to look for an MSSP, a managed security service providers, to outsource their security posture, and then help. That could be cloud-based. To come back to your point, could be cloud-based, and to make sure that they are, even if it's a small business, and we need to go back to the definition of SMB, but okay, that would be another question, another topic, because the SMB deserve the same security than the large businesses. Mm-hmm. And the MSSPs could offer the same security than they are offering to the large businesses.
Yeah. I sort of remind the audience that the Q&A function is open. So if you do have any questions for Daniel, now is the time, because we are coming towards the end of the webinar. But maybe I had one question, and you just kind of touched on SMBs, and obviously the channel's seen quite a fundamental shift in the past few years, with the shift to kind of subscription-based selling, shift to kind of solution-based selling. Are you seeing kind of demand changes from SMBs in terms of the security solutions that they want from the channel?
The SMBs, and again, it depends on the definition of the SMBs, but they don't have the resources. So do they really know what they want in terms of protection when it comes to technologies and so on? I don't think so. I'm sure not. In fact, something that I don't think. I know it's not. Okay, they want to have a service. They could go to the CSPs or the telcos that they use, or any third party that they are using, and say, hey, you know what, Chris, could you protect my infrastructure? Could you protect my data? Do they ask the question, I want this technology, and I want this vendor, and I want... No, they are not there. They just want to be protected, because they know, because they heard on the news that there is ransomware, there is phishing, there is all these kind of threats. And they will ask the question, I want to be protected against ransomware, they want to be protected against phishing. But they will not ask any technology. Maybe the MSSP said, okay, but you need also to train your people. Because again, okay, the cybersecurity experts used to say that there is 3 ways of threat. Okay, there is the web, the email, and the device. Right? Okay, so you click on the link, or you go to malicious website, or you use your own device. Okay. And your own device is connected to your business network. But there is one piece missing: people. Okay? Because even if they go on the web, who goes on the web? You go on the web. Okay. I mean, not you, Chris, but you go on the web, right? But okay, I go on the web. I use email. I connect my device. Okay? I should be aware of the risks when I use those different resources, okay, and I need to be aware of that. I need to be aware that I don't have to click on the link. I don't have to give my credential. I don't have to go on an encrypted website, when it comes to transactions, and so on and so on and so on. So coming back to your point, I think that the SMBs, they need to go to the third party and, you know, will ask how is the equation I want to be protected. So no vendor, no technology. I guess no technology and no vendor would be mentioned.
No, that's really interesting. I think that's all of the questions we have for today. So yeah, I guess it just leaves me to say a massive thank you to Daniel for joining us today. I thought it was really interesting, some really useful insights on, I think, particularly around AI and how that's kind of changing threat landscapes, but also providing a lot of opportunities for SOCs to really you know, automate what they're doing and identify threats much faster. It's really interesting. And yeah, thanks also to the audience for joining. And yeah, I think that's bye for today.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you so much, guys. Okay, bye.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Bye.